why wouldn't you want transparency
I
on
do,
all that?
but
I don't have a
it
problem with
didn't go through
transparency,
the
but
board,
Yes, you
you
do,
told
you
them to
would
do
turn
it.
the records in all
What do you
along.
mean?
RKO was told not to audit that, and we don't know who, when.
But that's not our problem, that now all of a sudden that they decide to do it.
It's better to catch it now than later, Pauline.
Exactly.
Somebody had to tell them to do it after the audit was
So
almost done.
now our audit's gonna be another, what is it, $9,000?
I don't know.
I don't know, you
What, the
second
carnival? I
motion
don't
for them to
know.
audit the.
Because I got
carnival.
nothing to hide, why wouldn't I second? I'm asking how much is the
Yeah, well,
audit for
then
the
why are you
township?
acting like this?
Because I don't want you to take $2,300 out of an account when we need that for the event.
It's the township's money.
I get
It's
that.
not like the township, we wouldn't vote as a board if we needed money to move forward for the
Exactly.
carnival.
So
to
you're
move
gonna
money over.
donate $2,300 to the carnival then for fireworks? The township will?
If it's needed, we'll vote on it. When have we not ever given to the township people to
But
run
you've
events
never
and
had
stuff?
to because it's always been taken care of. So if you take $2,300 out of our account, that's less we have for fireworks. But now you're telling me that you give a donation, then why not just pay this
But at
bill out of
what
the
point
township
do we
account?
straighten this out and start running the
Doing it
money
by
from the
the
general
book.
account and keeping track of everything? At some point, we gotta start doing this correctly so we don't have to go through this.
Let's just get
I
back
agree.
to square one, and we'll keep going from there.
Okay,
So you're
so-
saying this is a partial payment, so it's gonna be
That's a
more than
partial.
that? So it's gonna be more than that?
Well, it was on your,
It's a partial
letter
payment.
that said that I was the point of contact for RKL, that you voted the second. It said estimate possibly up to $7,500. You didn't read the letter?
No, I didn't read that, no.
Yeah.
And what is our audit for the township? How much?
It's probably about 9.
$9,000 to do the road crew, the police department, and they're saying it's gonna be almost just as much to do just the carnival accounts?
Well, this one, I guess they're delving deep, because it didn't go through
Oh,
the
yeah.
general account.
There's
There's
a lot
hardly
more to
any,
go through.
there's many bills that were not on the bill list that came before the board for approval.
Anything that was
You can't
over
do
the
that.
threshold of, what was it, $1,200 or $1,500 came for board approval. Everything did.
It doesn't matter what the amount is, even if it's petty cash for $5, it appears on the bill list for the board to approve. So everything should have.
Well, I don't have the finances anymore, so whoever's gonna do the finances, then they can do it. That's fine.
Okay, so back to voting on how to handle this invoice, how to deduct it.
I say general funds.
I say it's carnival expense, carnival.
Well, I would say, like we talked about, if it's for the carnival, it should come from the carnival, but I also agree with, funding the carnival, you know what I mean?
Well, we
So
always fund-
we will go
always-
back to that, when we get there, we will go back to that. So we'll pay for this out of the carnival line item. And then if they need the 2,300, we'll go back and revisit that at that time.
Right, or any amount. It
I-
always
I
comes to the
would-
board for a
I
vote,
would
if it's
say that's
for the
correct.
township. we would
Didn't you do a
usually vote.
budget already for this year? We don't have anything in there for carnival, do we? Just general, right? You did a budget for 2021,
The general funds,
the
yeah.
general funds, okay. So how are you gonna do that? Are you gonna redo the budget then to show a separate account for the carnival?
How they originally wanted this to go was that bills were gonna come out of Parks and Rec code, so it would be a Parks and
Yes.
Rec code, and there's usually a little cushion there, so.
So it'll be the same code as Parks and Recs?
The board will decide, but
That's what we have to vote on, we have to figure this out.
There's
We
like
have
no-
to
have
the
to
general-
vote on it. It comes around.
I don't know about that.
That was in the
but-
minutes, that's how they
Yeah.
originally said it was gonna be done, and, it's
It was never done
confusing.
that way.
It's, yeah.
But in
Okay,
this
so-
township, Joan has some petty cash that some of the employees in the township might have tapped into from time to time. Even if $5 is taken, it has to come before this board to approve that that was taken out of the
with-
petty
with the
cash.
receipt, Yeah,
That's how tight government is run.
okay, so we have one general fund, one,
Well, Alan, why
Carnival
would you
line
want
item
it in general
and
then?
where
Why
did
would
you
you
say
want a catch-all general fund?
Carnival.
line item.
No, you
General.
don't, you want carnival, you want,
I really.
An account for
line item.
carnival.
No, I
Don't-
want it all in general.
Because the thing that I fear is if you take it out of the general fund, you lost what that money was for, essentially. If you keep it in the carnival fund, it will be that line item.
Right, it'll
It'll
be
fall
general,
under the carnival.
line item carnival,
Right.
right.
No, you can have a line item for the carnival, but they don't need a separate fund.
Right. So
Okay.
general fund, and then we'll line item it.
Yes, carnival.
As carnival,
Like Parks and Rec.
yes.
They don't have a
So-
pool account, do they?
Oh, yes.
They did it
do.
one time.
It's board transferred from general to the accrual account labeled Parks and Rec. It all goes through the general fund, and then the board authorizes transferring it to.
Okay.
How many
But see, there's
sub-accounts
less
are there?
transactions that
About
would
10.
go
It's on
through
the
the
treasurer's
Parks and
report.
Rec.
So we have 3 for the carnival line item. and
Okay.
2
Public comment?
You
Yeah, we have to make comment before you vote. First off, I personally still have an issue with the audit company. I'm sorry, but I've done auditing. If somebody told them not to audit, that's a red flag. I still don't think we should be using this accounting firm because of that. Also, we were not, I wasn't aware that this audit could be this much, almost to the same price of our regular audit. Where's our letter that we supposed to have gotten from the auditing company to look at this, or this is just a verbal conversation?
There was a letter in the packet
Yes.
months ago.
I've asked for it. I never saw it.
January 12th meeting.
Yeah, well, Eric had said that we needed a letter before you were to talk about it. We need a letter.
Eric came up with, but the auditor, he still wanted that letter sent to tons of fun.
That wasn't what I was talking about. I was
Okay.
talking the letter. How do we get to this point? Because things are not connecting right. I'm showing straight on. Okay, when did the auditor say this was a problem, and where is it in writing from the auditor this is a problem? That's what I'm asking.
In that letter, but he met with us, Joan.
Okay, I'm
Jack,
just talking about the letter. I don't really talk about anything else.
What
So
letter?
the letter, I don't know what letter, because about a month ago,
well, the
this was
letter you're
discussed,
expecting from the auditor
and
or
yeah,
the letter we already received.
It was one you were expecting.
expecting from the auditor. Eric said we can't talk about it till we get the letter from the auditor. We have not seen it, so when did that arrive?
They haven't finished.
That was
March
for-
9th, we're expecting it, but that was because Eric decided we shouldn't act on his recommendation till after we see the actual audit, what his findings are.
Let me
I'm
be clear.
confused. That's not what we're asking.
The auditor came to me with concerns. I directed him to the 5 supervisors. I'm not a decision maker.
Right.
It's not my role to do that. He then generated a scope of engagement with a cost. It's given to the board discussed that at some meeting in the past. Are you saying it's January 12th?
Yeah.
Whatever the date is, it was discussed in public. Board voted to move forward with it. During that initial conversation that I had with the auditor, he wanted me to take certain actions, and again, I told him I can't do that. I take direction from the 5 supervisors. One of which is he wanted me to send a letter to tons of funds, so that letter has not been sent. I don't, again, because I don't take directions from him.
No, but
If
that's
there's-
why I brought it before the
if-
board for them to decide and vote to send a letter to tons of fun or not.
Well, I think the board is waiting for this guy's report or recommendations, and then they can decide as a board what, if anything, you want me to do moving forward. And so I've had nothing but that one conversation with him before the January 12th meeting. And so as far as I know, right now, you're waiting for him to complete his work.
And that's back to where we're confused, because last time I heard was, I didn't even know Eric even talked to him. I know Alan was talking about it. Eric said, well, no, hold on, we need to get a letter from them. And then all of a sudden, we vote on auditing the last carnival, which I have no problem with. No idea that it's going to be that costly. And personally, and for the fact I recommended in writing, because I was the appointed auditor, that we should not be using that firm, and to see that we are also now spending as much as we spend on the, potentially as much as we spent on the original audit for this, I think is a very poor use of our funds, and for the fact that, you know, that should have been caught up by the auditor. I don't care if somebody said not to touch it. I'm sorry. That's a poor excuse. We need to get rid of this auditing company next year. We have to look at somebody else. And I just think it's a poorly use of our funds. And for you to be bickering for Paulie about that, when we're only talking about a bill, if you have it's right now, we're a line in the sand. Right now, we need to sit there, okay, I don't first off, let me finish. I don't like the auditor firm. Second, you want to do another policy, fine. You line the sand, okay, we're going to work on the future. Bickering back and forth isn't going to solve the problem. Let's work on a procedure, okay?
Okay, so
Thank you.
Here,
Let's move on now.
No, I want to cover something. Where do you get the impression that you're in charge of the auditor for the township? For the
Well, technically by the second class class township, until there's appointed auditor, technically until there's a auditing firm, the appointed auditor is actually in charge,
Is that the case there?
technically.
Well, the elected auditors are in charge unless the board exercises its authority to appoint a professional auditor, which you've done.
Yeah, but it was just prior to that time that I had sent the letter.
But does she have any choice in that selection of auditors?
Not in the selection itself unless you choose to create a process of people providing input in a request for proposal. or
Yeah,
future
but-
selection.
But I legally, at that point, I was allowed to say that because technically for half a month, I was technically the auditor.
The thing
And I never got responded to my letter, except we're gonna look at the board, and that got brushed off.
Jack
So, thank you.
looked into it, but I'll tell you with auditors.
Transparency is a great thing. Thank you.
All these subcontractors to the township, if you're thinking about changing, it probably takes close to a year to reach out to them, correspond, make a decision. It takes a long time. December, November, too late to make a change, really.
For what they did, we should have.
For taking it out of the carnival line item.
We
Now,
need to vote
can
on that,
we-
right? Or not?
That was a vote, we had a vote.
You should vote on it.
Did we
We
vote?
did three to
Did a
two.
roll call
Okay.
vote for
We
you.
did roll call, yes. Okay.
So it would be Jeff, myself, and Alan. So since we're on the carnival, do we need to vote to make sure we're clear that funds should go through the general account? I mean, so you're saying originally it was set up
There's
with a
no-
vote, there's minutes.
I don't think there was an official
No, there was
vote,
no
which
vote.
seems like that's how it's been.
So
taking
we should
place.
vote now on whether we want this to go through the general fund, so everything's accounted for and
Yes.
in one audit.
Yes.
And in the park and rec line, whether it's a sub of park, I mean, can you do park and rec carnival? Okay.
Then you're gonna
Right.
get in trouble again.
It's through the general fund.
I know, but you have to have you should have a sub-account though, and now you have Parks and Rec
That's
underneath
what he
that.
said he's gonna do.
And it's all gonna be included in that. How are you gonna know? I mean, you
But he's
guys
not
seem to
put-
wanna,
He's
He's
not
gonna
the
have this
carnival.
There's two line items.
You have two sub-accounts?
Help with the carnival.
I'm sorry?
Most of the park and rec committee help.
Help with that.
Keep the carnivals, and that's in the general park and rec section, but it will be all carnival
Carnival,
only
correct.
accounted for.
Yeah.
That way
Okay.
we can-
I just don't want Paul to get in,
Okay. So we have a motion to
Trouble.
do, did you make a motion or you were just explaining something?
Just explain.
Okay.
I'll second it.
No, we need it first, to go through the general account under the park and rec.
So I'll make a motion that we put it under Park and Rec in the general account, so it gets audited every year, just like everything else.
And Park and Rec as a sub account, the sub carnival line item.
Yes,
Okay,
a
so we have a
carnival line
motion.
item, so
Do we have
it's
a second?
separated.
Second.
So can someone come to Park and Rec, explain to us then what is expected, if you're putting it
That's
through?
what we're gonna try to get a whole procedure on how it's to be handled in writing, that way there's no confusion in the future.
for this year? For this
Really,
year
it's
or
the
no?
same
We're
way
gonna
we
try to
should have
work
been
on
doing
it.
it all along.
Okay,
What-
so we
if
have
you
a
need
first and a
purchase,
second,
Come to us.
all those in
we
favor?
Vote on it.
Aye.
Aye.
Can we do that timely? Because, I mean,
That's what I
with
think.
the carnival, we move fast and furious. I mean, we only start planning, when we're already late planning for this year.
Sadly, we were told December to put the carnival, keep it off the agenda till February. The next meeting we had was in February, and we're told we have the carnival scheduled for June. The board wasn't even aware of it. But honestly, that, contract that has 3 years on it, that's not really legal. Those 2 years look like they were plugged in after the fact. And Paul was only authorized for the 2019 carnival to sign for that.
Okay, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but again, we do not have a lot of time if we're gonna have this carnival this year. Are you guys saying we are not going to have the carnival? Or we're going to be able to have the carnival and this is all gonna get resolved in a
We
week or
would have
two?
to resolve a procedure and make sure everything's in place, that we're gonna have it for the 250.
But we're gonna be able to do that in the next week or two, cause literally, you gotta get the band scheduled, you gotta get, there is a lot of work that goes into the carnival.
And then money wise, I mean, we're gonna have to come up, somebody's gonna have to run all the ticket booths, because that's all done by us, and that's all cash handling, so whoever's gonna be doing the money has to do the ticket booths. Every night of the carnival has to go over and count all the money to make sure that we're not getting
See, and
shorthanded.
this is where we almost need the audit company to come to us and say, look, this is what I need from the township for the audit, and we have to have it handled this way. Cause I don't know, I mean,
Cause
we have
I'm
to
not,
find out
I
from
gave
them.
everything up, I'm not touching anything.
Well, Alan, did I hear you say, maybe I misunderstood, did I hear you say that they should be at our next meeting?
March 9th?
Yes, they expect to have it done and come to the meeting.
If we could come to a conclusion by then, and I don't know that we can, but if we could,
It's
would
only a
that be
couple weeks out.
soon enough?
3 months.
That's, I mean, we haven't sent any letters out for
No,
any
I didn't
donation, we
even
haven't
get the
sent
committee together
anything.
because I'm waiting to see what's going on.
Honestly, with COVID, can we have an event like that?
Well, we're gonna do like we did last year, we're gonna at least get it in motion, and if we have to cancel last minute, we'll do that, you know, just, at least we have it in motion.
Well, we got Biden, so we should have a lot of vaccines by then.
So can you do what you normally do as far as getting the contracts and stuff and the insurance from the vendor? Until we can get the procedures?
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Go through your paperwork and start getting it together, and then by the 9th, when the auditor comes in and he gives us procedures and tells us, look, this is how the cash has to be handled, or, you know, if the
So he's gonna
carnival-
come with the procedures on March
He
9th?
should at least give us a letter, yeah, to follow. Yep, and his concerns that he might have with the current finances.
that we might have to change, or, we don't know, we're waiting.
Don't know.
But yeah, it doesn't look
Yes.
good for the carnival for June.
That's really unfortunate.
March.
The kids look forward to it.
Yeah, they were disappointed last year.
Okay, so, any other comments?
So for the RKL invoice, I know early on you had made a motion to pay it. Since there was a roll call, do we have to have a second then on that, or?
There should be a second to the motion.
Okay.
There was a second, who seconded? Jeff,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, just wanna get that right.
One thing I would like to just clarify, at the last meeting, you claimed that you asked Jack, the treasurer, about the carnival, were there any concerns? Well, you sat right there in the meeting that Paul was referring to when Jack said little baggies of cash were coming in.
That was the day Paul wasn't here.
Yes, I'm asking, you were there, you were sitting there.
Yeah, but I asked him every time.
Well, why didn't you consider that concern? When he was bringing baggies in of cash with no receipts, no documentation.
But
or
he didn't
anything.
tell me there was a concern.
so that's
When
what we
he was-
need
There is
to
receipts,
get from
there's
the
receipts for every
lawyer.
cash, and there's deposit slips that accommodate all that cash.
Okay, so we have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
to get this thing going. Okay, so, maintenance department,
Oh, sorry, we have to back it up.
Yes.
To, item F, MRM, our insurance policy, it renews May 1st, they have a
they
carnival
have a questionnaire.
questionnaire. So does that have to be put on hold till next time, you think? Because if we fill this out, we're telling them,
yeah, we'll have to hold off on
Okay.
that.
so I'll put it on next month's agenda.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think we have proof of insurance anyway to provide.
True, yeah.
No, that's the most important thing, secure proof of insurance from tons of funds. In 5 years, you'd think there would be a copy somewhere.
Okay, anything else, John?
Oh, that's good, thank you.
Okay, maintenance department, new truck purchase, check request approval.
John has a copy of that. What's the
$30,890.
Correct. And that's not the number they approved before, or are you just
I think-
reaffirming that?
It's a little different, I think it was just a little bit higher, just a tiny bit, and I wasn't quite sure why, but, yeah,
Well, then they're gonna have to reapprove the number.
yeah,
So that, the number you just gave them is
yeah, and they
what
have
it
it.
was.
So 30,890.
Which is what I thought it was, the,
Yeah, I'll look
came the
at-
second time.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the minutes again, but it's a little different. And the fact that we're asking for a check request too, I just wanted you all to know, because then on the next bill list, it'll show up as paid, and I'll get that to Jeffrey tomorrow. I don't think so.
To approve the check,
Yeah,
I'll make a motion.
have a motion?
Second.
Have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's not.
Okay, new truck upfit estimate.
So I have an estimate from Cooks for the snow plow, that is 7,300, toolboxes, radios, that sort of thing. I'm looking for that 7,000, not to exceed 10 on the outfit, radios, the lights, toolbox, that sort of thing. Use the major equipment line item I have here, that's where I'd like to fund that from.
I'll make a motion up there, approve the updated estimate, not to exceed 10,000.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Truck repairs.
During the last 3 snowstorms or more, we've had a multitude of some minor, some major breakdowns. The last one was the International. I got it back today. That truck itself, because it's a fresh figure and it was a large one, is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 for the turbo plus the electrical issues that we were having with it.
How many turbos we put in that truck?
That's the third one.
In how many years?
Well,
Not that
it was in
many.
2005, so over the last 15 years, you're putting one in, and now it requires other components called a boost sensor. We put one of them in every 3-4 years. And troubleshooting and replacing the component, and that is $1,000. You put one of them in every 3 or 4. I have reached out to a salesman and just pricing a new chassis, but I didn't get a response from him yet. Food for thought that I'm gonna.
Guess we should be grateful we didn't sell the other old truck.
Yes, that truck's been on the road every storm, every storm.
Keith, just a question, are we bringing that truck back whenever we use it and just shutting it off? Are we letting it idle for 5 minutes before we shut it off?
We're letting it idle. They don't come from screaming down the highway back and just getting shut off.
They have the EGT gauge on it.
They do not have an
They don't.
EGD cage. I will tell you that that truck, for lack of a better term, is underpowered. The whole time you're driving, trying to move snow, you're just flat to the floor, trying to keep them out and trying to keep it moving. So that turbo is spooled out by design. You're destroying it every time you're using it. You can ask other townships, those, in the beginning, were not a very well thought out or well designed, but that's one problem, and then the newer stuff has emission stuff issues that I don't know whether you're gonna. I find it easier to look at the board and say your new truck's broke than look at the board and say your 25-year-old truck's broke.
So is there any upfit for that turbo because of what it is?
You can't do much of anything with a truck nowadays due to all EPA regulations. It's just the way it is. And if they do have something at this point, the software, hardware, and the computer in the truck won't adapt to what we're doing today. As far as a computer upfit or a programmer or something of that nature.
So what are you saying, we gotta look at a new truck?
I'm gonna get a price on a new truck. It's gonna be fairly close to the other one, but I mean, in the end, that's your decision. We weren't kind of planning for that, but I believe it needs to be a consideration. Typically, if you were to make up your mind, we're looking at a year. And in this day and age with producers and these automakers, things are weird, so you put an order together early and hope you get one. They only make so many.
I'd be okay with getting prices.
I'm gonna get you the prices and I'm looking for the information more because if they give me a price and tell me that you can get one, but we're not gonna get it to you till 9 months from now, and then you still have to wait for it to get here and get upfitted and push it out 18 months. That's kind of a decision, you're not paying for it till you get it. You got 18 months to get ready. I think it would be proactive to at least entertain the thought.
Okay, so where are we, the truck repairs, are they being done or
They're completed.
They're completed, okay.
They did exceed the allowable amount, so I don't know whether you needed to approve them, but I fixed, the truck's fixed and it's back in service.
Want to make a motion that,
What was the exact figure?
I don't have an exact figure because I didn't get the bill for the, all I had was the quote that I presented with Paulie in an
That's
email.
the email that went out, yeah.
And that was the price of the parts was $3,100. I'm gonna tell you that it's probably close to another $1,000 because there was also electrical issues going on there, plus whatever installation or removal of that turbo. So I'm expecting that to be $5,000, and I got one down there at the shop for $1,000 for.
So you didn't get the bill yet, so we have 2 weeks till our next meeting.
I do.
2 weeks till our next meeting, so that can wait till the next meeting, right?
That's up to you as far as I'm
That way
concerned.
we
If you
can
just
vote
wanna
on
pay,
it,
if you
you
just
know.
wanna pay the bill when it comes, you're paying the bill. So I'm just letting you know that it's on there and what it was.
and street sweeping approval?
We were gonna rent the sweeper again like we did last year for the month, $8,600. We usually have our supplier own operator, and then that's reimbursable through BFI or through the public services. So I need your approval to at least sign the contract to reserve the machine for the first week in April.
I'll make a motion to approve that. Second.
Doesn't the landfill subsidize that or not?
Yeah, they do, they reimburse us.
All of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion is second, all those in favor?
If I can answer your question, we used to bring a contractor in to do it,
Yeah,
and we found out that we could rent a machine, they would reimburse us for our time and for the
and they've been
rental.
doing it for 20 years, right? Or
They've
or
been,
more.
yeah, at least that long.
At least
Um,
at 25. I used to be on that
When,
down
when,
there.
when we put our guy in the machine, I get a little better job out of them. I get better work if I got one of our guys in it, hey, go back over this, hey, go back over that. I don't have to educate them, they know where the roads are, they've all got time in, so they know where they're going. I feel like we get a better job.
So we're spending money on that
But we're getting
anyway,
it back.
all of it.
All
We're
of
getting
it.
all the money back,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, 2021 street work and road bonding recommendations.
The street work cost estimates, the majority of the items on here, we have the numbers for carryover from previous years. We didn't put a lot of new stuff on here. Driving through Maple Drive, for example, there was a small stretch before, when we drove over there, we saw there was a lot more that needs repaired, so we added that. Just looking at the repairs for reconstructs, which is where it's construction work, that's reconstruct or mill and overlay, more paving. The numbers we have total are over $1.2 million for that work. The maintenance work, which we were looking at a seal coating, is $105,000. The majority of that was the work that was slated for last year and for the budget reasons got pushed back. There's other items, I guess, the guide rail that's been mentioned on Morgan Way, our opinion would be that's a safety issue potentially if there's an accident. We updated the cost based on some recent pricing we had, and that's $50,400 for that stretch.
Have we gotten a letter from PennDOT about that lately? Weren't they the ones that brought it to our attention that we need to replace it?
The guardrail?
Yeah.
That one, the guardrail would be one of our top priorities. Thousand Oaks Boulevard bridge deck is in terrible shape. We would recommend that, and then the stretch of Thousand Oaks between the bridge and Joanna is in pretty bad shape. That's kind of one and the same as far as the paving is right there. The concern on our end with the bridge is the annual bridge inspection has a lot of repairs that are listed in there. The number on here for the last inspection $325,000. That bridge is to be inspected this fall. The paving repairs, we had just have basically mill and overlay the bridge, but put a coating over.
When you're saying the deck of the bridge, are you going all the way down to the base?
There's only there's we were over there's about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches on there now.
Didn't we have to sandblast the beams and stuff?
Well, this is, I guess, that's some of the repair, that's, I guess, you could try to just do the paving. If you get the paving off and you see the deck itself is bad, and you would have to replace that, you take that off, you probably wanna do the other repairs at that point. That's a lot, like I said, just the number that was in the previous bridge estimate is 325.
I think that's what we discussed in one of our road inspections, that that's the best way to get to those beams is to take it from the top, because there's not much ground clearance between the stream and the bottom of the bridge.
That's one of our thoughts. I mean, that, like I said, that paving on it's in terrible shape. The concern is, once you get in to do, even if you just tried to take the paving off and replace it, if you run into any issues when you get in there, it could.
It would be senseless, you waste money blacktopping it without fixing the bridge.
So, I guess that would be, you wanna spend any money to try to just do a little bit on that, knowing it's most likely gonna be a temporary patch there. Some of the other, you thought Lenape and Maple portions of them, since you did Lenape last year, Maple was pretty bad in a lot of spots, so we could do a chunk of those. And we thought probably to do some of the maintenance work, which was pushed off last year, to try to help keep some of those streets from getting any worse. And we did do some base repair type work over there last year, prep for some of that work. Best Road I have on here, that was the one that you guys approved, I believe it was last month, for $3,500 roughly for Jason County to do when they do their work. For the road bonding itself, for the Sunoco work, we went through and put a list of what we felt was necessary. And we came up with pricing based on some previous projects, recent ones, and that came out to $271,000. We have to reach out to Sunoco, give them what we feel needs to be done, they'll respond accordingly. Based on meetings we've had with them, my take is they would rather, once they agree on a number, agree on what's done, up to the township a check, has to go through PUC versus doing the work themselves. So I think that's kind of the way we assume that would move forward on that end. But once we kind of go over this with Sunoco, if they're in agreement, they have to submit it to the PUC. It's, I think he said a 40-day period before they'll make their ruling. He had indicated once they agree on it, he's never had the PUC reject it, so we would expect it to be approved. But that work would be stuff we could include as part of the street work, or do it as a separate contract if you'd like, once we know what that is.
I don't wanna cut in there, but I looked at some of this here today, and I can tell by the look up there that they're a little overwhelmed with some of the other street work. What I think I need the board to do is approve the Sunoco stuff so that we can get that sent off to them for their approval, get it off to the PUC, get the approval, and get it back, so that money's coming. And I think we should, as a group, or look at this and maybe wait till your next meeting to do the stuff that you're gonna do with the general fund and your liquid fuels asset. The problem with the bridge is like if we open that Pandora's box, you don't know what we're gonna find. At this point, if you put a few thousand, let's just use 15,000 worth of asphalt over the top, we're taking the potholes away, but we know that we've got a 10-year plan, 5-year plan. The bridge is gonna need a $300,000 worth of work, or a big number. But at some point, you gotta fix the potholes that are on the bridge there. And that's just that project, and nobody here wants to say we should spend money on other places, knowing that project is looming. This Sunoco stuff is a done deal, and it's not our money, so let's just get it to them and let them approve it.
I would say yes to that. So I'll make a motion to forward the
The Sunoco.
Sunoco.
And the
I'll
other,
say this.
do you just wanna just kind of mull over this other stuff till your next meeting?
Yeah, it's kind of.
Now, what amount are you looking at, the 247 or the 271?